Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Skyrim mod comparisons. In this episode we'll be looking at Frostfall, Hypothermia Camping Survival, and we'll be comparing that to Hypothermia, another mod that does similar things. So the first mod we'll be looking at is Hypothermia. Hypothermia is a mod that adds a core body temperature to the game, which adds a whole new level of immersion. And depending on what your core body temperature is, you will get negative and or positive effects. First thing you want to do is check your powers. Hopefully you should have core temperature there. That means you've installed it correctly. Now you need to open up your console in order to get the configuration menu. And to do this, press the tilde key, which is the key located next to tab and the number 1. So then you type in help space hypothermia space 0. And this should come up with a list of everything in the game with the word hypothermia featured in it. So hopefully now you should have that list, and then type in player.add-item and then the code which is in brackets under plus hypothermia settings plus. And now hopefully you should have the configuration settings added to your player. So now if you go to the keys, there it is, hypothermia settings, and you can change anything you want there. For this video I've put everything on, so all the animations and everything like that is turned on. So the first thing I did when I installed this mod was I hopped up to High Hrothgar and I decided to just sit there for a while and see how long it took me to die from the cold. And it seems that it does take a very long time to succumb to any kind of hypothermia. So then I went a bit mad and I took all my clothes off just to see exactly what it's like. And again, it took a very long time to get anywhere near freezing. But eventually I did succumb and I started losing stamina. And this went all the way to the bottom and I lost all of it. As I started running around, I did notice notifications coming up telling me that I was getting warmer, but then afterwards telling me I was getting colder. So I guess as you run around, you warm up a little bit. As if I wasn't crazy enough, I decided to jump and go in for a swim. And this really did hit me. I immediately started shaking, and the screen started shaking as well, which was really cool. And then the colour started distorting, and as I got moderate hypothermia, and then eventually my health started deteriorating, as I guess I must have got high or severe hypothermia. And this mod is brilliant with the whole graphics and the colour change and the shaking. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's very nice to look at. Well, while you're dying from hypothermia. But there is one thing, and that's that you are pretty much unable to be in combat while like this, in this state. So, if I were you, don't run up to any bandits like I did. The mod we will be comparing hypothermia to is Frostfall Hypothermia Camping Survival. Now this mod is massive. It adds new items into the game, new powers, new abilities, adds a lot more than Hypothermia does. But regardless of that, it is up to personal choice. The thing about Frostfall is it really does get in the way of your play, and when I say get in the way, I mean that in a good way. It adds a lot more immersion. Makes the game a lot tougher and makes you think about things like whether to travel in the rain or in the night, or whether not to. Whereas in the vanilla game you can just wander around in the rain or in the cold in a complete blizzard with no clothes on with absolutely no worry. Now some people do not like that. They don't like a mod that changes the way they play. And if that's the way you are, then choose Hypothermia, because that mod does not get in the way of play, but it does add it, which is nice. If not, then carry on watching this video and you should find out a lot about Frostfall. So, in Frostfall it is slightly different, and when I say slightly, I mean very different. Instead of having a core body temperature like you do in Hypothermia, you have exposure rate, which basically means how exposed you are to the cold, and eventually you will succumb to exposure and you will die. Simple as that. What this mod makes you do is really prepare yourself for the worst. And to do this, a lot of the time involves carrying around a hell of a lot of firewood with you. Because you can, that's right, you can build fires, which is a very cool feature. If you open up your survival skills, or I have it set to a hotkey, you have various options, and one of them is to build a campfire, so you can add firewood to it, and then light the fire with a torch or with a flame spell, which is pretty cool. And in this menu, you can also craft various things like cloaks and capes. You can, this is compatible with lots of other Cloaks mods, such as Cloaks Skyrim, which is very cool. So you can also set your own protection for that, and certain cloaks protect against the rain, but it will take a bit longer to dry off due to that. Now this mod comes with an Mcn menu, which is very useful. Well, it needs it because it's so big. You can just basically customize it however you want, but I'm just going to have everything on the default, but with wear enabled. Wear stands for Worn Equipment Effects Rate, and now what that basically does is it makes certain clothes give more exposure protection than others. But if you don't agree with what the mod author decides is limited and what's full exposure protection, you can change it with the Inspect Equipment option. So yeah, this is how you do it. And as you can see in the top left corner, it now says this headgear provides full exposure protection. Now once again I went for the crazy naked test, and I died extremely quickly. I mean, you don't stand, well, you just little to no chance of you surviving out here without any kind of clothes or anything like that. It's very immersive and very unforgiving. Now if you thought that getting wet in Hypothermia was deadly, you're about to get one hell of a shock, because getting wet in Frostfall is twice as dangerous. If you get wet, your exposure increases very, very much, and it can kill you quite quickly. And also, as soon as you just dip into icy water, your stamina will deplete instantly, which again changes the way you play, because you try to avoid jumping through water and swimming vast oceans to reach different places. You try to find ways around, which is very immersive indeed. So as soon as you are soaking wet, you should immediately build a fire and dry off, because if you start running trying to find a town to warm up in, you will die. Because the longer you stay frozen in the water, the more likely you are to die of the exposure. There's things like that you really have to learn, but luckily there is a massive user manual on the website for Frostfall, which I will link in the description. And as there is with every mod, sadly there is a downside, but it's not too bad. Some people do enjoy chopping firewood all day, all night. I am one of them. I do enjoy it, especially with the beautiful landscape around me. But if you are one of those people who absolutely cannot stand it, then go with Hypothermia. You know, it's no problem. That mod will not get in the way of your play. You won't have to learn too much about it. With Frostfall, you know, you have to really learn how to survive. And changing the way you play the game is always nice when there's a game as old as Skyrim that really needs a sort of a fresh approach to it, and this mod really does provide that. So yeah, thumbs up for Frostfall. I say it's one of my must-have mods for playing now, as I'm so used to using it that I just have to use it all the time. Also, if you're wondering how I'm getting first-person messages instead of the usual third-person ones you're getting with Frostfall, I'm using a mod called Think to Yourself Messages, and there is a Frostfall module. I will link that in the description along with these two mods. So, that is it for this video. The thing is with these two mods, is it really is up to personal choice of how you want to play the game. You know, if you really want to play very immersively using all kinds of different mods like realistic needs and diseases, then you probably want to go for Frostfall, because it completely changes the way you play and changes it to a much more immersive experience. But mods like Hypothermia add that little extra boost into the game that just makes it that much better. So if you don't want something that will take over your life, you know, with Frostfall you'll have to read up on it, you'll have to learn a lot about it. I certainly did, and it took me a very long time. I've been using this mod for about 6 months now, and I still haven't learnt everything. My favourite mod, as you probably tell by the fact that I've used it for the past 6 months, is Frostfall. But I say Hypothermia is for a different style of player. It's only my opinion, and lots of other people do like Hypothermia more than Frostfall. So yeah, it's up to you, and thanks for watching.